No, I'm actually not a lawyer. Although I got self-published. My sister actually is my mother was one, but she was with the wrong time. When she was interested in going to law school, they said things to her and where do they went to you couldn't ask anybody in your room. So my sister started that. And I work in the healthcare industry. Yeah. Hi, Chief. How are you? You were an age. Where have you been? Where have I been?
I take foreclosure mediation.
Oh, do you?
So, are you finding that? I control myself from professional media.
That's rewarding.
Is that sufficiently non-responsive for you?
You're what kind of regular volunteer? Perfect.
I understand you're very open, very involved with the American various people.
But I'm really enjoying it. I was on the original design for that. So when the first flowers started, I said, okay, I'm one of the and I want to still work with quality. Right? Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Good, how are you, Phil?
I like it better. I did.
She was very receptive when I called. Because I have a unique perspective. You know, I've not been involved with all of this here. I know what kind of organization do, and I know this in a different organization, and I know this it's certainly nice. But the concept of leveraging challenges volunteer is to say, used in a completely different way.
My only concern
yeah, no, so,
Is it all Oh, I have
yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Seen you for a while. You've been coming here?
No, I said maybe it's been a year.
Oh, could be. Could be, yeah, because you don't go to a lot of the social events. That's the kind of stuff is, yeah. Your social, the kind of social event you like is a mediation.
Yep.
Right? Where you can get real social.
Yep.
You know?
That is correct.
You know? Forget the formalities and just go straight to it, you know?
Sure.
Grab mine.
Cookie.
All right.
But not students, maybe students.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going?
Sometimes I'm
No, that's.
I keep trying, but it's not
happening.
I did see you out there.
All right.
Just listening to the last 14 lectures. An online course.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There's so much great research. I actually was trying to get, remember how we used to have book club?
Yeah.
And I was trying to sort of get that. Again, maybe for the summer. And have this really good
It was very challenging. I don't know. But it was not a it was a very
Well, this is,
and, you know, it was, you know, a lot of the books we read here have been popular kind of things. So you could kind of really digest it.
Oh, I definitely. The old
But we had a strategy. It was Michael's.
Maybe it's been 2 years. Yeah.
No, you're right. Last time I saw you,
well, this book is
but you were wearing a suit,
it's written by
so it wasn't as
this guy who
visible.
does science
But
writing
the suit
about
was
the
looking
brain
big on
for
you.
the New York Times.
Well, so that's 2 years ago.
And the guy's
Because,
called Jonah, and they're
I,
there's a new book out that's about creativity.
Tina Cooper got
How
on
the
me.
brain does that, but this book is about
She said,
and
when,
it's very interesting.
so I said, I thought, I'll have to do it. So I went out, so that's 2 summers ago, I went out and bought all the new
Sort of
suits.
events like this.
What was the trick?
What goes on in the brain is
Not easy.
and, in different kinds of situations, different parts of the brain
Not an option.
tend to
Well, not even so much.
and, you know, the resolution of argument. And it's
Calorie
very
reduction.
interesting and very relevant
Whatever kinds of,
how
terms you want to
this all works.
apply to.
One of the things that they talk about
And so far,
this morning is
the last round,
what happens
I took off 25 pounds, something like that. I've kept, I put on 4,
that comes out of
and I'm
the
starting to work on peeling those
what
off.
happens is that someplace in your
I've been doing fairly well.
of different ideas and get that run through it and in and out of there, and when you stop
So you
thinking
do it in
about
rounds, like you just like.
they know. And then when you come back,
Like,
here's a new idea.
my whole life,
And I was thinking to
constant
myself, that's what
diet, the yo-yo up and down.
you're into the nitty gritty, and then you take a whole break
have
and you go talk about something unrelated.
Which can't make it
And then when you come back,
Well, A, I'm not doing so much traveling anymore, and B, even when I was, if it
interesting to
was
test it.
an overnight trip,
In this
I pack. I bring most of my food with me.
Have you had nudge?
Sardines, cheese, and eggs, which is not what you would call
Nudge,
diet food.
particularly on
Probably
neuroscience,
better than the
but
alternative.
it's by PhD guys.
I love sardines.
That were,
I do too.
oh,
look here. Oh, wow. My God, my God.
You look like you've lost weight. Oh my God.
how
Good. You look the good and you look the same. Look at you in this sweater. Oh my God. What's happened to you? Let's go in here.
one of those, you all know you can get
No, I mean you look very dapper. I like this sweater.
Good evening.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Donalee Markus. I am a volunteer here at CCR. I've been volunteering with CCR for about 3 years. I serve on the volunteer council, and I also co-chair the Continuing Education and Training Committee. Part of the responsibility of the Continuing Education and Training Committee is to put on continuing education events, similar to the one that we have gathered here for tonight. Tonight's presenter, tonight's event, Mediation of the Brain, is being presented by my friend and mentor, Dr. Donalee Markus. Donalee's credentials are quite impressive. She earned her Ph.D. from Northwestern University in 1983. She received her bachelor's and master's degrees in education at National Louis University. She did postdoctoral work from 1983 to 1993 with the renowned Israeli psychologist Reuven Goldstein. Since then, she has dedicated her life's work to changing people's lives through brain plasticity. Donalee's clinical and corporate experiences encouraged her to create designs for strong minds. A cognitive restructuring program designed for high-functioning adults inspired by the work of Professor Goldstein. Theoretical framework for DSM is based on how the brain works. Excuse me. Donalee's book, Retrain Your Business Brain, Outsmart the Corporate Competition, hit the bookshelves in September of 2003. In 2006, she self-published Spinning Our Wheels, Where to Lead, When to Follow, and How to Get Out of the Way. Great title. She has just completed 2 new manuscripts for publication, The Road Trip and The Traps of Success. Entrepreneur magazine reviewed her work, stating, "It's like yoga for the brain." Current projects include development of additional interactive computer games for high-functioning adults, several new corporate leadership training programs for use at NASA and Los Alamos National Laboratory. Her corporate clients have included Los Alamos National Laboratory, McDonald's, Meritech, Coopers & Lybrand, Britannica, Quaker Oats, United States Federal Court System, and NASA. In the spring of 2006, Donalee was invited to speak at the Chief Learning Officers Spring Symposium in Florida, where she sat as a panelist with leaders of training and development at NASA and Los Alamos National Laboratory. In addition to numerous local and regional presentations, Donalee's recent national speaking engagements have included annual meetings at International Council of Shopping Center Owners, Society for Human Resource Professionals, Independent Educational Consultants Association, and the World President's Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am thrilled to present tonight's guest, my friend, Dr. Donalee Markus.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be here here tonight and to talk to you about my favorite subject, the brain. I am here to bring an awareness of how the brain is responsible for all of our behaviors, and to give you an opportunity to peek inside your brain and to learn what kinds of filters that you might be using. Now there is a package of material. Can I just show this for a second, because there are more people, so I don't even have an extra one. This package of material has most of what I'm going to talk about today in it, okay? I have a website that's very complete with 100 and some interactive exercises for high-functioning adults. There are articles that have been published this year on the web and in other journals that are included in this package. And I also have an advertisement for my $1.99 app, which gives the opportunity to rehearse processing multivariables and increasing your internal dialogue, what we call the metacognitive conversation in your head. Now, what the metacognitive conversation in your head is the first thing that is lost, God forbid, if you have a post-traumatic head injury, if you go through chemotherapy, if you have an adverse reaction to medication, and it is the first thing that you begin to lose in the aging process. So maintaining an active metacognitive conversation is the foundation for all other learning, and that is why I chose that to put on the website, because not everyone can come to see me privately, and unfortunately I can't go and visit everyone, in their corporate setting. But I wanted everyone to have the opportunity to build this foundation. So all of this information is in here. And my business card even has an exercise on it that you can play and see how you put it together later. So I've tried to give you opportunities to look at the games and the puzzles. And what I want you to know is that it's not that they're games and puzzles. They were specifically created for the opportunity to rehearse specific skills. Each one of us has almost like a map in our brain. And this map, this highway going from one place to the other, is created probably only 20% from our genetics, and probably more like 50% from our experiences, or 40% from the experiences, and 40% from our visual systems. It's estimated, they have a wonderful machine at MIT, I'd love to get my hands on it, I guess, that can actually identify an Oprah neuron. So it can look at your brain neuron by neuron. And according to researchers there, as of last year, the visual cortex, directly or indirectly, communicates with 87% of the brain. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is to always be vigilant to your visual systems when they're comfortable, when they're not comfortable. If you like working on a computer but you don't like working on a table, if you like working on a table and you don't like working on a computer, all of these things indicate how you develop the filters and what's comfortable for you to learn and what's comfortable for you not to learn. Now I'm happy to address questions. I will, after we all have an opportunity to explore how each one of you, which one of the paradigms each one of you fit into. Because if you have an awareness of how you organize new information, and you look to your right and your left, you begin to appreciate that "do you see what I see" is not really the case. I think one of the largest contracts I ever received was from Ameritech. I was there for years, and the head of Ameritech said to me, "Donalee, you don't understand. We are all engineers," and it was my good fortune that he was the last person I saw. So I said, "If you'll give me a moment, I will take the 40 people that I have worked with today, fold their names back, and I will put the drawing on the table." He said, "They all look exactly like mine." And I put them on the table, and he said, "Hired. You win." He was shocked that people took squares and triangles and faces and lines and did them in a different order than he did. So, without further ado, we're going to go through just a few of the concepts that I thought were critical to mediation, and then we'll have some fun to play. Incidentally, play is the best way for us to enhance or to create new neural pathways. That's because play implies we take risks. Play implies that we're going to mirror other people's behavior. Play implies that we are not going to come with a judgment. Constructing clear and concise communications and the ability to listen and observe what is explicit and implicit messages. I think that if anyone has seen The Big Bang Theory, the implicit and the explicit kinds of communications that go on between Dr. Sheldon Cooper and the rest of the world are absolutely a beautiful study in the difference between implicit and explicit verbal communications. We are, incidentally, the Western Hemisphere. We are a verbal, a left-brain community. We are, culture. The Eastern culture is a right-brain culture. My book, Retrain Your Business Brain, according to, and I wasn't there in Japan, but according to the Japanese publisher, was published 19 times. I mean, here I don't think that, I don't know how many people bought it, but not very many. Because my book, Retrain Your Business Brain, I was giving Americans 80% of what they didn't know and 20% of what they knew. I gave the Japanese 80% of what they already knew and 20% of what they didn't know. And it was translated in all of the Eastern languages, all of them. It was on, actually, someone came back from China and they said, "You must be so upset. It's on the black market and you don't get any money." Well, anyone who's published a book knows you don't get any money. And the thought of me being next to Prada and Donna Karan was very exciting. That was a place I really never thought that I would be. So I was very pleased to hear that the Chinese thought it was important enough to put on, to under the table and to sell. Okay, and we, seeking logical support to clarify ambiguity. They can't be, it's kind of unusual that someone who does clinically applied neuroscience would be at NASA for 8 years. There's a little inconsistency here. I'm not at Harvard or Yale, and I don't have an appointment at Northwestern. But when, in 1998, when NASA was looking for materials to help, I can't say maximize intelligence, because they have very bright people there, I think it was to enhance communications and possibly to expand the capacity to learn. That would be as expanded as it was. They just wanted to push the envelope a little more. I was one of the people that was invited to present with Harvard and Yale and everyone else. And what I had that they didn't have was ambiguity, because that's life. And that's what the engineers don't like. They don't like ambiguity. And so that's the reason I won the contract. Because of the ambiguity and because they were puzzles, they were not domain specific. If they're domain specific, then someone has, you know, they have an advantage to someone else. My puzzles are squares and triangles and colors. It doesn't matter who you are or where you went to school. So it was a nice way to equal the playing field. Although I even told them I would reduce my fee if they would give me people that did not have 2 with PhDs, because, you know, that's quite the challenge. I always had our top scientists and engineers, and it was a very exciting time for me. And it gave me the opportunity to create between 3,500 and 4,000 instruments for high-functioning adults, which I own, so I can use in my private practice, because they didn't want to own it. In 2000, when I was hired in 1998, the goal of the program was to put all of my work on interactive computer for every child in the elementary school. In 2002, as we all know, funding and other things changed, and that opportunity was no longer available. So I did the iPhone app, you know, as my contribution. I do also have a game on the website. Now the iPhone app, if you did the mathematical permutations, and no one is going to do 500,000 games, believe me, but there are 8 levels, and if you have a traumatic brain injury, you have a child with a learning disability, you have someone who's kind of episodic, they only take one piece of information at a time, they can play the same game 1,000 times and not get the same board. Or at least they're supposed to not get the same board if I've checked it, you know, as best I can. You know, everyone has checked it. I did not write the code for the game. I did create the game. It is based on my work from 1998 to 2006. And then this is the 6th generation of the game. Okay. We want to create a safe, risk-taking environment for generating original ideas. And so I want to share with you my idea. I knew Cutler had a concussion the last game last year before they knew. Now, how did I know Cutler had it? He played, how did I know that as a quarterback, I mean, I'm not an aficionado, I don't play football. I watch it occasionally like everyone else. And he's given many interviews. My favorite football player is Mike Singletary because he loves me the most. He said, you tell everyone I love you the most, and he does. And he came to me, and we have been very, very good friends since. But I knew Cutler had, when was it that Cutler didn't perform? Does anyone remember? Anyone follow the Bears? Do you remember? He didn't perform well in the evening. Well, what's the difference between the day and the evening? The lights. The lights. The artificial lights. Now, for all of our beautiful blue-eyed people, you probably would like the lights dimmer than they are now. And the lights. The light is a powerful tool. If you have someone who's unbelievably obnoxious with blue eyes, dim the lights. Just dim the lights. I promise you, you will see a change in behavior that will shock you. But I knew that he had, and I wrote the Bears. I felt it was my obligation. No one called me back. But that was much like 30 years ago when I started to do cognitive restructuring when as I was working in Israel, back and forth and creating instruments and programs. until technology, and I'm so lucky. You know, Copernicus died not knowing, he thought he was right, he knew he was right. But anyway, you know, he died. But I had technology has proven that, yes, the brain can be changed. Because with technology, we can actually see the restructuring of the brain with everything that I'm going to talk about today. I'm not involved in the research. I'm not involved with the experiments. I love change. To me, that's excitement. Not work, you know, not with mice or with rats or with animals. I really like to work with people, and I like to see how their lives are changed. Okay. My children, I have 4 children. It's not a secret. You can find out everything on the web except what I had for breakfast. It is the only thing you do not know at this point. I have 4 children, and they are in unusual careers, and so many of them are interviewed at different times. And they all say, or they come around to, well, my whole life, you have to hope for the best and plan for the worst. And, you know, because that's all they heard me saying. I know you're going to do this. This is a wonderful idea, but what if? And so the opportunity to look at how to prevent errors, I'm very proactive. I have, in my private practice in Highland Park, where I live and have a home office, I will see, you know, young parents with children, and they'll bring, you know, someone will bring a child in and say, well, my pediatrician, my psychologist, the teacher, oh, all kinds of professionals have said, I really don't need to do anything because this is going to be outgrown. They may be right, but what if they're not? A learning disability is like a cancer. It grows unless it's tended to. So if you can't give a specific diagnosis and are certain they're going to outgrow something, you're always safer to be proactive. So in this, of course, you all document, you probably use mind maps, you probably use different colors, because some people input information auditorily, and some people input information visually. So you can talk to someone and they walk away, they never said that. You never said that. It didn't happen that way. But if you have documentation with images, with pictures, with colors, I do not mediate between couples. I don't want you to even think I think I'm a mediator. But I did have a judge in my practice who said, I must bring my wife. And he said, you know, and what he wanted me to do was mediate. So what I did was, and I didn't know about, I really don't know that much about mediation. We did a mind map of what the issue, and each one of them had a different color. First they created their own mind map, and then they interwove the mind maps. And that was enough for them. I've also had an engineer. When I'm seeing one person, they sometimes want to bring in the spouse, you know, for support. I don't know what they want. You know, they want more. And so we do things. We mind map in different colors to record information. And I said to a marriage counselor once, I said, I think that if you did a mind map with the couple every year, you could prevent a lot of divorces, because the implicit goals of one parent or the other, one spouse or the other, would become explicit as you put it on a piece of paper. There's nothing like making the implicit explicit as a way to build consensus. And we always have to share and consistently remind people of the big picture. What is it we're really doing here? because there are very few big picture people. Very, very few big picture people. And if we have a big picture person, like an entrepreneur, like a Donald Trump, if we have a big picture person like an entrepreneur starting a coffee business or doing things like that, very often they have a vision, but they do not recognize, oh, we don't go from here to here. There's a space in between, you know, there are steps in between. There are things we do. I work with a very successful man in finance who owns a very, very large company, who is an econ professor, and he was a visionary, but he couldn't keep a secretary. What do I tell him to do? What do you mean, what do you tell her to do? And so he said, I'm coming to you to learn to use a secretary. So he learned process. He learned systems thinking, like engineers get, you know, every day. And so coupled the engineering, coupled with his ability to maintain the big picture, gave him beautiful opportunities to grow a fabulous business, to have a secretary and a much, you know, smoother flow, you know, in the office. Now, when we talk about enhancing our learning, enhancing or increasing the capacity to learn, we're talking about agility. How many ideas we can generate. And I've had the good fortune of speaking at conferences where people have worked for Bill Gates, and the man, I've been on with the person who did Post-its. Don't you love those Post-its? I love Post-its. You know that was a mistake. The Post-its were an error. And 3M said, no, we don't want them. Get them out of here. And so what they did was, this one man took and he built the machine in his basement. And when he finished we were kind of a team at this conference. And when he built the machine in his basement, he didn't think about how he was going to get it out if he needed it. So they had to remove a wall. He had to have a structural engineer come in and, you know, create a structure, you know, create a structure so he could begin to get the machine out, because he didn't want to take a chance and take it apart and put it together again. But you know, it was a wonderful story of how people, you know, generate ideas and generate alternatives. And the person who worked with Bill Gates said, the amazing thing about Bill Gates was an idea would come up, and he would give almost instantaneously 25 ways of doing the project. And then he'd look at everyone else and say, okay, what else is there? You know, and everyone just looked, because essentially he had come up with, you know, so many. And I have the beautiful opportunity to work with Daniel Graupe. Daniel Graupe is the man who designed the Peristep, which was the first instrument for paraplegics to walk if they had an injury below the fifth vertebrae. I think fourth or fifth vertebrae, I can't be sure, but the Peristep is on YouTube. And Bill Gates in 1970 wrote one of the premier papers on mathematical mapping of the brain. So it's interesting, you know, where he wound up with the computer. The brain is not a computer. The brain is a very complex filtering system. And recognizing our goal and which filter to put on or which filter to use is very important. We don't use the same filter when we're deciding to give a presentation as we do the day we're coming to the program. This is no time to generate alternatives. This is time to be very detailed and count and make certain that we have what we need. So we have a different filter that we use. So if we can recognize the goal and turn, you know, and use a different filter, and we have that filter, that's where the title of the book, Spinning Our Wheels, Where to Lead, When to Follow, and How to Get Out of the Way. And that's what that book is all about. Okay. When we talk about patterns based on established goals, you understand that, and then determine discrepancies within patterns. If we look at the AIDS virus, and all of the hundreds of people who were researching and looking for that one virus, and it wasn't one virus. It was a relationship that they were looking for. And so as soon as there was a paradigm shift, as soon as someone took the risk of looking at a problem in a different way, then we had the opportunity to save a lot of lives. We have to always be vigilant to shifting goals in response to changing conditions, and this is nothing new. Voltaire said, uncertainty is difficult, but certainty is ridiculous, and it still stands today. Anyone who thinks they just have one dream, they have one passion. It's wonderful to have a passion. Don't misunderstand me. I have a passion. But you have to be ready to move into another direction if circumstances present themselves, and you have to. It's not, that passion can become a hobby. That passion can be something you do on the weekends, you know, so that you can take care of a family or responsibly, you know, manage your credit cards. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do today, my assistant, my associate, we're going to gain an awareness of how you think, and that's why you have the colors. So if you could put the colors in order, you know, take them out of the box. And let's do red, blue, green, black, and then I don't care. Red, blue, green, black, and I don't care. There's plain paper. Red, blue, green, black, I don't care. And if you don't have black, don't worry. Just so it's red, blue, green. I think we'll be able to see enough. Okay? And it's fun. There are no right answers. There is not a right answer. Okay? If someone doesn't have the markers, there are two. There's a pink and a red. Take the red, take the purple as a blue, and somebody has two greens. There are two greens over here. Do you have enough? What do you need, a green?
Yeah.
Can we borrow one? A green. And do you have another? You have two.
I'm good.
And let's see. We're going to take the yellow. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Red, blue, green, black, and then I don't care.
What is that?
Any color. It doesn't matter.
Oh, have fun.
Okay. Now, to this day, people will send me, not because I encourage it, believe me, they will send me this picture. I'm getting married. I had a judge send me this. I don't know what's with me and judges. Anyway, a judge sent me. I'm getting married for the first time. This was my drawing, and this is hers. Do you think this one is going to work? You know, this is a 2-minute inventory that exposes one filter. You all have multiple filters. It's just interesting to note you're habituated, you're primary, the filter that you prioritize. That's all. That's all this is doing. Okay, so if you take the paper clip off of this paper, you're going to see that there are a couple of pages of white paper, and under the pages of white is a complex figure. And I want you to take that white paper, you may not trace, you must copy, and I want you to begin copying with the red this image. No, not trace. You must put it on the side. I'll know. I'm tough. Remember, my Singletary. You don't mess with me. If he didn't mess with me, no one else does. Okay, so you take the red, okay, and every 30 seconds, go slowly, because every 30 seconds, the slower you go, the more you're going to learn about yourself. So start with the red and start drawing the image. Okay, and now please switch to the blue. You can yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. No, yes, you don't need it. Oh, the blue. We were switched to the blue. Yes, now switch to the blue. Thank you. Okay, and if you just switch to the blue, there's only 1 or 2 people who just switch to the blue, continue on the blue, but the rest of us are going to do green. Are you done? Yeah. Okay, that's okay. And now the black, and finish. If you haven't finished, you can do the black, and then you can pick a 5th color. It doesn't matter. This gives me okay? And if you look to the right or to the left, you'll see what's red on yours is not the same piece that was red on someone else's. Okay, how many people started with the upside down L? The upside here, now, okay? Look around and see who you are. If you know each other, the upside down L. Aha, a bunch of bottom liners. You want guarantees. Okay, a bunch of bottom liners. Okay, now how many of you started with the rectangle? Oh, these are my engineers, my process people. Okay.
Which rectangle?
The rectangle. Here, wait, I'll show you.
Oh, red, okay.
I'll show you. Here. Here we have a left to righter. Those individuals who started with the triangle. Okay? The red triangle. Okay? Proceeds in orderly or routine manner. Now here we have something just a little different. This is a direction changer. They go from one thing to another, kind of like a Katie Couric, a Scott King. This has nothing to do with intelligence. This is the way people process. They move from one thing to another, or they get a new idea and they shift gears. But it is not the logical order. It's not the routine that has been established. And they're very sensitive to changes in moods in the culture, and they move with that mood. Okay, and here we have my NASA engineers. They're central shapers. And they're all about process, what came first, how do I build the second, the third, the fourth. And they want to know how the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
This is, they started where? Because I lost you on the...
With the box.
With the box.
Oh, the box in the middle, okay.
The box. Do you want me to go back? Yeah, I can go back. You see, they started with the rectangle
Okay.
in the middle. Okay? You're going to see them again. And now we have my traders, the outliners, my entrepreneurs. And they just see the big picture. They don't even know there's anything in the middle. You know, it doesn't matter what's in the middle. How far can I push? How much can I do before someone will stay stuck? You know, and we all know people like that. They're the outliners. I didn't see an outliner here. Did I miss an outliner? Was there an outliner that I missed? Okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an outliner. It's entrepreneurial. They're a big picture person. And then we have the creator. You know, Oprah Winfrey, Robin Williams, you know, people who think differently, organize information in new ways. The producers of my, or the writer for my new favorite show, The Big Bang Theory, you know, they see something. They're a new ideas person. That's the most important thing to them. And we also have disconnectors. Disconnectors have somewhat of an episodic grasp of what's going on. And I would imagine in mediation, they are probably your most frustrating. They go here, and then they go here. But nothing weaves together. But you said this. Well, that had nothing to do with this. They really don't see the whole. It's very hard for them to see the whole. Now, an extreme, and I'm not suggesting that everyone who is a disconnector is schizophrenic, okay? I know. Extreme cases of episodic behavior, extreme, did I say that loud and clear enough? That's where this is where we see the delusional pieces that don't fit into the big picture. Eric Kandel, incidentally, he maintains that we are all schizophrenic in our dreams. We're all a little obsessive compulsive at certain times. I mean, look, wait till you see my exercises. I'm the poster child. We are all at different times we take on these behaviors. The key is if we function, if we can function and maintain, you know, with these behaviors. If we're functioning, that's okay. If the obsessive compulsive disorder takes over our functioning, then we need medication or to start meditating, whatever is your pleasure. Okay? All right. And these people are specialists. They're walking data banks on pieces of information that they're not interweaving. But they know a lot about, you know, one thing. Okay. And then we have our random connectors. All people in marketing. Anyone have anyone in marketing they work with? I swear, every time a mother or I usually, for some reason, I see judges, I see lawyers, I see doctors. I don't see many people in marketing, to be honest with you. But they're married to someone in marketing. And that person in marketing will come up with ideas. They walk in, and before they even say hello, you know, they bring you to the session. Oh, hello, how are you? Why don't you do? And it's almost as if this is their opportunity to just go into a dark room with darts. They have no idea where the board is. And they're just going to throw. Well, something's going to hit, right? And so they come up. Random connectors are just notorious at coming up with all different ideas. Random connectors are usually actresses. They're the actresses from Sex and the City. None of us, espoused anything like that. Okay, and now the bottom liners, the one I asked first. Where is my guarantee? Where is my guarantee? Now, a unique combination of skills is when we have the bottom liner and the creator or the outliner. So let me give you some examples of people that we all know. I think we all know. And this is not to be. I'm just exposing. Some of their characteristics. The bottom liner is concrete, and they ignore what's not concrete. A good example of a bottom liner and an outliner is Cheney. Okay, Vice President Cheney. He was a bottom liner, but he was an outliner. No process. Bottom liner, outliner. A good example of a creator would be, let's see, who is going to be, would be Oprah Winfrey. A bottom liner and a creator would be Oprah. Donald Trump is a good example of a random connector and a direction changer. Does that surprise anyone? I told you about Katie Couric already. And entrepreneurs, Martin Luther King. Luther King was an outliner. And let's see, did I have anyone else that, Sandra Day O'Connor, Martha Stewart, and Lauren Bush are all left to righters and direction changers. Jesse Jackson is a left to righter. And Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice are also left to righters and direction changers as their primary focus. So it's always fun to look at people and to appreciate what filter they're using, or if you can identify the filters so that you know what communication tools to use.
Escape.
Escape. No, I know. Sometimes I have the flippers, sometimes I'm trying to be there. So, okay. It's helpful with a left to right or a direction changer that you start with the familiar. This is where we are, and this is where we're going. The creator and the outliner want the big picture. What are we doing first? Now, I've said to you, and it's in the Bible in several places, that when we find our mate, we complete ourselves. So, those of you who are married or were married, or are married more than once, and every time I've said this, actually at NASA, they wanted me to do a study on it. It's not my area of interest, but it's kind of funny. And they insist I tell the story to every session that I do. For 8 years I did the same story. Okay, so if you are over here on the right, chances are you married someone that was your opposite, because together you're complete. Okay, over time, hopefully, they learn from you and you learn from them. Okay, when they don't learn from you, or you don't learn from them, and they stay where they are, and you leave, they're this is where we have our discourse. Now, the second time around, we're not doing that again. It's too much work. We are finding someone exactly like we are, close to who we are, because it's just too much work to get that other half, and we don't need that other half because we've made changes.
Which opposite are you talking
well,
about?
Well, any of them. Doesn't matter. You can be a bottom liner and a creator. You can be The one that I see the most often in marriages, to be honest with you, are the disconnectors and the bottom liners, or the left to righters and the outliners. I mean, it doesn't have to be directly, you know, these are all shades of gray. Everything is, you know, I live in the gray. Nothing is black or white. It's perfect or not perfect. But it's very interesting. It doesn't matter how large the audience. They all love that example because there are several people within the audience that can't relate to it. This is just about, you know, where are the problems. I think we need to go over this. If you were a bottom liner, please note comparisons. Okay, just put down comparisons at the top because we're going to do another exercise. Let's see if we're right. Let's see if there's a change. If you were a direction changer or a central shaper, put down progressions. If you, well, no, there wasn't any. There were no outliners. Forget it. You don't have to do categories. And if you were a random connector or a disconnector, do part-whole relationships. Write down part-whole relationships, okay?
Particle?
Part-whole. Part-whole. I'm sorry. Part-whole relationships. Okay? Now, I'm showing you a picture of this neuron. I mentioned that there's an Oprah neuron, there's a Jennifer Aniston neuron. Isn't that exciting? I think it's so exciting. We have 1 billion neurons. We know one does. If we all went into the machine and they said Oprah, the same one would come up on all of us. I just love it. I mean, the brain is just so wonderful. Okay. You see all these dendrites? You know, these little branches like. When we have a depressed brain, we have very few of these dendrites. The difference between an active brain and a depressed brain over time is they have minimal dendritic connections. And those dendritic connections create highways to other places in the brain. There is the mind-body connection. This was from an article of Fred Gage, who in 1998 at the Salk Institute found that he could grow stem cells in his population. Now, he didn't have a big aging population, and he said the oldest person he could grow a stem cell in was 78. But that's ridiculous because the oldest person was 80 and they only had 10 people. You can't tell from that. I mean, you know, but still, he grew it. Who cares? So when we say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, it's just not true. If you have the rehearsal, if you have the cognitive prerequisites, if your visual systems are tuned, if your auditory system is tuned, if you exercise, if you can balance on one of those balls and your hips are fluid, if you could sit like a monkey. Watch how an athlete sits. They sit like they're going to bounce up because they are grounded. Anyone who said the dumb athlete has never understood thinking and moving at the same time. It is hard. It is difficult. A significant part of our brain is involved with thinking and moving at the same time. There are a lot of things that we can learn from the athlete's posture and the athlete's stance about, you know, with cognition. Eric Kandel did a wonderful series with Charlie Rose on the brain. Eric Kandel got the Nobel Prize in the year 2000 for his work with fish. And he showed that in an enriched environment, the brains of some of the fish changed. I think it was fish. He used something in water, whatever it was. And Marion Diamond in 1970, she was doing research with mice in enriched environments, and she found that the mice that lived in the enriched environments with the the swings and all of the different toys, that their brains were different than the mice who didn't. Okay, who didn't, who didn't live in an enriched environment, even if the space was the same. So, it was my good fortune, again, because no one else does this. I've been on the stage with Marion Diamond. She said, I'm going to tell you a great story you're going to love to tell everyone. And in Japan, they duplicated her study. Well, I can't remember exactly how many days the mice lived, but I believe it was between 80 and 100 days. The Japanese publish a paper, and their mice are living 160 days. She writes them and she said, what do you feel? Exactly what you fed them. The same mixture. What did you have in the cage? Exactly like you had the cage. What could possibly be the difference? Duplicate the study again. She has them duplicate the same thing. She goes to Japan. And she goes right into the lab. She said, I want to see, what are you doing? They said, look, the cage is the same. And this is the same. And they had to clean the cages. Okay? In Marion Diamond's lab, when you had to clean a cage, you had extra cages. You took the mouse out and you put him in a clean cage. In Japan, this is the mouse. One of the researchers had to hold the mouse while the cage was being cleaned because they didn't have as many cages. No one picked up that piece of the research. No one ever talks about it. But me. I talk about it every chance I get. What does that say about the aging process? And so it's a wonderful, her work is brilliant. There are all these wonderful people who've done these wonderful studies with animals, and I get to create instruments for people. It was so nice of them. Okay, now, my associate. Feel like you're Vanna White? Yeah. Okay. This is, you can face it up, it doesn't matter. You know, this is a problem you're being presented with. Here's a problem. You have the second and the third piece of the problem. All I want you to do, you want to give me half, I'll do the other half. Thank you. All I want you to do is to select two images from the bottom. Tell me, put the numbers in, please. The bottom, there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There you go, sorry. Okay, there, yeah. You only have these. This is the problem I'm presenting you with. These people are having a problem. Okay? What happened here and what's going to happen here? That's all I want to know. There is no wrong answer.
I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay. There are two graphics here, right? And there are two places for you to choose a graphic from the bottom. I want you to choose one graphic for the first position and one graphic for the last position.
Based on solving the problem.
Well, whatever problem you see. People see this problem very differently. Whatever problem you see, whatever you think it's communicating.
Is this moving from beginning to end? The 4 is the start of the problem, the second is the problem.
You could look at it that way, so that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, however you want to do it. It's your choice.
Draw it or just write the letter in?
Just put the letter. I'm not that nice, just put the letter.
select more than one way of doing it while we wait for everyone else to finish. Is everyone selected at least one way of doing it?
So is
Anyone who hasn't?
are we supposed to be able to tell a story why or what?
Well, we're going to talk about it. But you know, I mean, I'm not going to. Unless you want to. You want to? You can if you want to. Okay. How many, did anyone choose H for the first box and B for the last?
You could.
Say it again, please.
H for the first, and B for the last.
That's my second choice.
Okay.
It has to be both?
Yeah, I'm just asking. You had the opposite. You had B for the first and H at the last, but you chose H and B. So you like, when you did the drawing, was it comparisons?
Go back.
You were comparisons. Okay. Yeah. Because usually it's the same. But let's see. I mean,
I did that, but mine was progression.
I
did B and H.
you did B and H, but yours was progressions. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. You know, this is a learning experience for all of us. Me too. How about C and F?
I did
Oh,
that.
that's
Analogies. You like analogies?
Yeah, I do.
You like analogies. Do you like analogies?
I always use that.
You always, isn't that interesting? This is something that he resonates to. Analogies. So, you know, for some people it's going to be what they do, and for others
Like
it's...
hot dogs and rolls.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Now, let's see. F and C. Did anyone do F and C? No, huh? Okay.
I did it.
You did F and C? And what was the type that
Kind of opposites.
Opposites.
Or kind of process. It was,
your drawing, was it progression? Was it part whole?
it was playing. It was just trying something different.
Oh, so you're a creator?
Well, no, I wasn't in the other exercise, but I could
Well,
be
maybe
now.
you changed with our input.
Maybe.
You know,
I really was not happy with what I was in the first.
She wasn't happy. She tried something new. Who cares?
I
I mean, this is a paper and pencil exercise, and you're going to take a risk taking here. I have, you know, I work with a lot of professionals, and I have 4 brilliant people, probably the most brilliant people with whom I work. And they said, you know, I've been playing your game. I've been making so much more money. I said, where? And I'm trading differently. I did my 401k differently. I did this differently. You should put that on your app. He said, are you insane? You obviously have some cognitive prerequisite that I haven't tested, and this gave you the opportunity to take risks in a way that professionally you would never take risks with. So playing the game gave them the opportunity to rehearse reorganizing bits and pieces of information. They habituated a new pattern of behavior. Dee Dickinson was head of New Horizons for Learning. And another nice thing that happened to me was that I was with Mahali Csikszentmihalyi and a group of other scholars in New Mexico, and Dee Dickinson was the moderator. And she insisted that in a 3-hour session, she totally changed her paradigm. Now, I told her to definitely not tell anyone, because that is not anything I'm going to promise anyone. You can't do that. But it turned out, and that's exactly what she did. Exactly the same thing. It's kind of, I haven't had anyone do that for a long time. That's kind of fun. Okay. And do we have a D and an E? We have a D and an E. That's similar. Now, what were you, Liz?
I'm not exactly sure, because I sort of got hung up with the colors.
Oh, right, because you started, yeah, like,
Yeah,
okay.
so I didn't quite get to the...
But you got the rectangle first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I paid attention. Okay, so you did do the rectangle first,
And then, and so what made you choose D and E?
I had E as the first and D as the last. I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Just sort of seeing how they might mirror each other.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, that's the pattern that I saw.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's okay. Anyone else have that? You had that too? And you had that too?
But I was looking at that there was the sameness of the orange and then changing the color of the little pickle or whatever.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh. Now, did anyone take the pieces out? Did anyone, you know, say, well, we have a moon, we have you know, a pepper. You know, I was in at Los Alamos a very long time, and you know that chocolate and peppers are addictive. And every place I went, because I flew into Los Alamos in the evening, this was before cell phones. It was before NASA. And so you had to go, and of course I get a contract January, February, March when the little plane can't fly because of the mountains, you know, the wind. And so they sent someone to pick me up, and he had a band. And so he thought I was his playmate for the weekend or whatever I was doing there. So as soon as we went to a bar and we had peppers and whatever. I can't remember ever eating anything but peppers. Peppers and eggs in the morning. Peppers and hamburger in the afternoon. Peppers and chicken. Peppers and peppers. So that was really supposed to be a pepper, because that's when I did this, you know, when I was at Los Alamos. So did anyone take apart the image and say that they were these 4 oblongs, the 4 dots, and recognize the colors or anything? Did anyone do part-whole analysis? No? You did?
I saw this as a mediation.
Good.
And that the two were having their problem in the center, and then I had, where did they come from?
Right, where did they come from? So where did your people come from? What was your...
The color, you know, the shape was upside down and the color was different.
Okay, so your images...
CF.
C and H?
F.
F. C and F, yeah. C and F. I get it.
That's the story.
That's the story, and that's wonderful, because if you can tell a story, then, you know, you remember something.
Now,
okay.
Excuse me if I may. You
Sure.
said this was analogies. Is that part of the story?
Yes.
Okay, and is that part whole as well?
It can be. It can be.
I'm trying to connect this with the earlier exercise.
Yeah, I know. It can be. It can be.
Thank you.
Depending on how you saw it. Did anyone have one that I haven't mentioned? Oh, what did you have, Kate?
F and A. I just looked at the crescent and I wanted it to turn.
F?
Yeah.
You had F first?
This way and then it.
F?
I just looked
and
at
A. And so you didn't look at anything else? You didn't
Well,
care about the other
everything,
pieces?
yeah.
Just let them fall, right? Wherever they go. Doesn't matter. Okay, that's interesting. F. Although I think the little dots stay in the same place. A. Did you have A and F or F first?
F.
When you, let me ask you, no, I have a question. No, it's not hot. No, it's okay, it's okay. I'm just thinking, do you have a favorite recipe? I mean, do you cook?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite recipe? Do you keep the things for the favorite recipe together, or do you have the spices and the spices and?
Spices with spices.
Okay, all right, because sometimes people who would have chosen that, you know, you have a favorite recipe and you keep the ingredients for that recipe together. You know? No, seriously, it's good. You know what? I have to tell you, I raised 4 children, I was writing books, and I put an outfit together. Hell could freeze. This pin does not leave this until I give it away. This I give away, this pin goes. This shirt does not worn with anything but these 2 pieces. And that is because I don't have time. You know, so it sounds silly, but I do that. And so I was thinking you were a categorical thinker, because I'm a categorical thinker, and I just thought maybe I missed something. And Eric, what do you have?
I had D, then F.
D and F. On the basis of what?
Basis of, similar to what M said, that I thought of it as a mediation, where I took, the first box was a mix of the two, so there was blue and red, and the last was a mix of the two, with orange and green. First, them being sad, and blue going to mediation, and F, we're happy.
We're happy you're happy after mediation. We're very happy. Did anyone else have anything? Yes?
I started out with green, similar on the motion if they're having a conflict. One started out feeling light and then turned blue, and then the one that was orange was upset, wasn't getting it, and then turned blue. So one went from light to dark, and the other one went from light.
And you had G and B.
And B.
Yeah, I have A and G. That is one that I've had before.
What did that one mean?
G and A, but I haven't had that. That's very interesting. So you're associating an emotion.
Yeah, emotion.
An emotion with the
A and G is
with
an
the light.
emotion. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an emotion. Now, you know, Candace Pert in the 70s was dissecting a pig at Johns Hopkins, and she said in the intestine of the pig there are peptides. Now, peptides are only supposed to be in the area of the brain known as the amygdala, the area, the seat of emotions. And she said, oh, this pig must have eaten a brain. Pigs don't eat brains. So when that was thrown out, she then began to look at other mammals and found that we were wrong. Peptides are not just in the brain. Peptides, there's a network of peptides very similar to the network of nodes, you know, the lymph nodes in our body. And there's a network of peptides. So when I was a little girl, my mother used to say all the time, relax. Because and I'm very relaxed, if you're relaxed, you won't be sick. And my sister's a surgeon, my husband's a surgeon, my brother-in-law's a surgeon. I'm from a very, medical family, and they
Are not relaxed.
They always made garbage out of my mother, telling everyone to relax. But Candace Pert, she proved that there is a relationship between the mind and the body. And if you are upset, your peptides communicate like a family to every other area of the body. So it's interesting to note that emotions are a powerful tool to use in any, in any situation. Okay, anyone else have one that I didn't think? Which one?
Susie and I independently came up with A on the left and E on the right.
A on the left and E
on the right.
On the right.
A, B, H, E would be the sequence.
Huh. It's interesting. Why? What was your thinking?
Oh, I don't know if we have the same thinking. I looked at the open dots, and that's kind of what I focused on in terms of from smaller to bigger, smaller to bigger.
Okay. I see. So you identified a salient characteristic, and that salient characteristic guided your behavior on this instrument. Anyone else? How'd you do it, Ed?
Different than Susie. I looked at this as some sort of a thing, and I don't understand, what the puzzle is. So I'm looking, I'm saying, okay, there's a dynamic going on, and A to B is some sort of change that has taken place, changing from A to B, and that is influencing what's going on. The dynamic is back and forth all the time. And so the influence is now how blue has changed from A to B, and how B is affecting H, and how H is now affected by B becoming E. You got it?
I pay attention. But isn't it interesting you both chose the same one with a totally different process?
Totally different.
Totally different process. Anyone else? Did you have one, Brian?
I have A and C as the last one. But mine was, again, emotionally driven. I'm the left to right orderly person, I guess. And I saw A as movement, going from left to right. The second one was an encounter of a problem. The third was I have to actually work through the problem, that's the color change. And see, the fourth one, I resolved it and changed shapes. So
movement is very important to you. Movement is very important. Very important to you. Okay, does any, yes?
What would it mean if we did B and H and had it like two pairs the same? What does that mean?
B and H is just comparative. It's just you need a frame of reference. You're just comparing. You're just looking for the same thing.
What about?
It's just comparison. I don't create the story. I'm just telling you the cognitive function.
What about H and B then? The opposite of what she just said. Like alternating.
Alternating. That would be more of an analogy, or a biconditional progression. It could be a biconditional progression, skipping every other one. Could be. It's just a fun thing to see if it, applies or it doesn't apply. But how many different ways there were to do these exercises. I have two other exercises in the package for you. There's really no need for us to go over them. What I'd like to do though is to ask you, because it's 7:10, does anyone have any questions? Do you have a question that you wanted to ask me?
I'm curious.
Sure.
Why do you say that C and F involve analogies? I didn't see them as an analogy. I just saw it as completing the circle. So why do you say analogies?
It could be analogical. It's not a pure analogy, you're absolutely right. But it is more analogical. Well, maybe just comparative. Maybe comparative. Maybe I should have said comparative.
I paint, oil painting, so to me it was just
completing the circle.
Completing something I might do in a painting, like a moon or something.
Yeah. So again, it's identifying a salient characteristic and moving from that point to another point, which is probably what you have to do as a mediator.
All the time.
Yes?
I don't want to keep you from doing whatever you plan to do, but I was wondering if you could talk about how you use the mind maps with people, or is that off the...
No, I mean, do you all use mind maps?
No.
You try not to? I love the mind map. Okay. Can someone give me a situation? Can we make it relevant? What situation would you like?
Well, I deal mostly with people who are getting divorced.
Divorced. Custody or?
Custody.
Custody? Okay. Okay. We're talking about custody. And the way I'm not a mediator. You know that, right? I keep saying that. Okay, I'm not a mediator. Some of my clients have asked me with children, with a spouse, to look at an issue they're having, whether it's where to retire, how to retire, spending money, things like that. And what we do is, I have each one of them does their own map first, custody. What are the issues? What do they see as the issues? School, What else? School, vacation. Grandparents' visits or no? No?
Sure, whatever.
I mean, do you do this?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Medical.
Medical,
Activities,
medical,
Religion.
the activities,
living,
living, religion,
Money.
okay? And you have them fill it in, okay? They fill in their own. This is their paradigm, their image, their picture. In many instances, or it's a nice way, very seldom is everything between two people opposite. Very seldom. There's going to be a connection. They want, let's just say the activity, they recognize this child loves soccer. They don't want to take soccer away. So then you do a big mind map of where they agree. And then you start building from that point. Now for me it's been very successful. But again, I'm not a mediator.
So what does it look like then?
Well, when we do it together, no, they do one.
I don't know anything about
But what is it they do?
Well, I'm just showing you. Well, they put in all of the different things that they want. They want them to go to Sunday school. Each person puts in what they want. Sunday school, confirmation, okay?
All right.
And they put in all the details that they want for this. So you put, just say you and I are getting divorced. You put in yours and I put in mine, okay? And then the mediator creates another, well, there's no paper, so they don't create another charge. The mediator creates a charge. And as I said, the place that you begin is the activity, because they both agreed with soccer. And they see the other's mind map. And then you start building. It's an explicit representation of what they want. Yes?
Are you specifying, prior to this fill-in, are you specifying these issues for them to then flesh out? So do you say activity and they write in things, or do they fill in all of the blanks, including what the issues are?
Depends on, I'm not a mediator. I don't know what you do. What I did. I
just ask you what you do.
Oh, okay. No. But I'm not doing a mediation. What I have done with were people that wanted to negotiate where they were retiring, how they wanted to allocate their money, where they wanted their children to go to school. These are some of the things that, you know, a student of mine, an adult, would bring someone in. You can or you can't. Now, it could be that as soon as you can give them each just a blank sheet of paper, and I always give them a template. I have a template of a mind map. And DeBono has templates. Have you seen any of it? Do you have any of his? I have them if you don't have them. They're templates he has.
I don't think I've seen them.
Okay. They have templates, and it goes like this and like this, and so it kind of encourages people to be more specific. I show them a template of a mind map. And I say, okay, I want your ideas. What do you want to do in this situation? They each do their own, and then we look at them. Now, it could be that one person puts in activity and the other person doesn't, says, oh, I forgot about the activity. It's okay. It's okay, put it down on your sheet. It's okay, we learn from one another. That begins a very open dialogue. When Arthur Anderson and Anderson Consulting split, another wonderful experience. So there were 600 executives, 600 people, God knows where they came from. I was the speaker in the morning trying to build consensus or trying to build a plan, a mission statement, and the afternoon was tough. How much did they put in? So what I brought in, so before the session, what I did was, I sent out a questionnaire, what are your concerns about the merger? Then I took the top 10 mergers. I think it was 10. I can't remember if it's 5 or 10. I'd have to, it's a long time ago. 5 or 10 mergers. And I brought in big sheets of plywood, not plywood, board, you know, from the construction board.
Plywood?
Not plywood.
Masonry.
Drywall. I brought in drywall. Oh, you know, no, don't do it small. I work for NASA. This is before NASA. I was always out there. So I bring in this drywall in this massive space. Massive. I can't tell you how big it was. And in the middle of each one was another issue. And everyone was broken into teams, okay? And you started with this question, question 1, and the first group had red, okay? The second group, so then they had to put all the reds back in the pile. There was a marker bin, a pail of red, then we went to blue, then we went to green, then we went to black. It must have been 5, okay? And they went through each one of these problems. And then the first group would come back to their question, and they would see how cross-fertilizing the ideas, seeing what other people had put on other maps for other questions, and how they had answered other issues affected their decisions. It was very successful. They actually photographed it and created their mission statement based on it. But it was wonderful to watch people come back and say, oh my goodness, look at this. Maybe they started with black, I can't remember. They started with one color. Look at all the green, look at all the blue. I thought we did everything. And every 5 to 10 minutes, they moved. But they learned from things. The cross-fertilization of ideas is so important. You know, I know you're taking this. This is such a bad idea for me to say this, but the difference between that Google brought Motorola. Oh my God. I'm nervous. The corporate cultures are so different. Google is open and share. Oh, what's your idea? Oh, can I learn from you? Oh, I'd like to. And Motorola is like, you know, I can't imagine. I wrote them a letter. They definitely need me. They definitely need me. And you know, there is a book, and the book said, are you smart enough to work at Google? That's what I do. I train people to be smart enough to work at Google. And so it's been very successful for me. How you use it in your mediation, it depends on your style. But if you look up mind mapping on the web, on you know, any website,
Who are the names?
well, De Bono is one of the premier ones, but there are a lot of other people. It's so easy, the templates and things. There's also a computer program that will take any text and convert it to a mind map. And that is so much fun.
Do you know what
Inspirations.
Inspirations?
Yeah. Do you have that? Isn't it fun? All of a sudden, you do a paper and you go,
I use it to mind map. I
What
use
is
it
it,
for
an app?
100 different things.
no, it's not an app. It's a program. It's software. It's not very expensive now, is it? Now, actually, some computers have it on it.
And so it's not something on a
Inspirations.
website, you have to buy it.
You know what? No, some of the computers have it on there already. It's called Inspirations. Is yours on your computer? My kids have it on.
I've had it since 1980s.
Oh, no.
So-
They're new ones.
No, I have the new one. I mean, I upgraded it since for 20 years.
What I'm saying, but she had to buy it.
Yeah, I had to buy it.
Okay, now it might
I think my kids have it on their computers.
answers. So I mean they have gals. I don't know. I can't really say whether or not this. Let me just show you one more thing. I was going to talk to you about all this, but it's not necessary. But my last thing that I wanted to say was Oliver Wendell Holmes said, man's mind stretched to a new idea never returns to its original place. And I hope that I have stretched your mind to a new place, and that your mind is never going to return to where it was an hour and a half ago. Sure. Mediation is a term used in neuroscience. Mediation is awareness, attention first. I never know what someone's going to answer. Okay. Mediation is the process by which someone gains your attention. There is an intention in the exercise, and there is transference or generalizability to other things. In other words, this is not about those moves. It's not about the puzzles. It's not about the spaceship. It has a meaning that goes beyond the exercise. It has a meaning that transcends to everyone's life. And so this is the technique, and the tools I use are content-free exercises, because that gets me the fastest result, to be honest. And I love fast. I have the disposition of a surgeon, but I'm a treatment person. Wheel them in, cut it out, move them up, let's go, let's go, let's go. I mean, I move fast. Ask Anastasia. If you're with me 6 weeks and you don't see anything, I'm the wrong person. Move on. I don't say you'll be finished in 6 weeks, but if you are not if you're doing the work that I'm giving you in 6 to 7 sessions, you're not seeing any habituated change. Something's the matter. It's not like you see, you can see a therapist for 8 years, someone comes to me and says, really? And this is the condition you're in. I mean, let's look someplace else. 8 years, they're very nice people, but there's a piece missing here.
I would just like to say back to him, is the concept that looking at things in new ways helps you to grow? Is that where?
Well, that's part of it, because we
what
all.
Would your mission statement be? Just so I can kind of understand.
What do I do?
What's
well,
your
it
mission
depends.
Statement?
Is to enhance, to maximize intellectual potential and the capacity to learn, to give people greater capabilities. So my NASA scientists needed different capabilities of dealing with ambiguity than my traders. Oh my God. I want my traders to be like NASA scientists, and I want NASA scientists to kind of, like take a few, not with our mission, not with our spaceship, but, in certain places. I want them to have different experiences. So, yes, it's to maximize intellectual potential and the capacity to learn for everyone at any level. But at each level, it's different. And people come with different skill sets, and someone may need math, and someone else may need organizational skills, and someone else may need to learn how to read implicit and explicit communications. It depends what they need. I mean,
when you say maximize intellectual ability, do you also work with emotional intelligence? To maximize emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence is maximized when you maximize intellectual potential.
Really?
Yes, because in many instances, emotional intelligence is tied to the prefrontal cortex. If you've read it, you sound like you've read a lot about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, the core of emotional intelligence, you'll understand this as soon as I tell you,
was based on the first study with delayed gratification. You can have the cupcake if you put away the toys first. That's how they gained all of their popularity. Reducing impulsivity, is that emotional or is that cognitive? Or is it 2 balls of yarn the cat got into and they're just tied up in knots and we've just got to take the blue one? You know, it's emotions people have are tied to sometimes. Emotions are something that's very difficult to address. You talk about squares and diamonds and all these different shapes. All of a sudden, emotional issues change. Now, I was a big picture person. I mean, I am not, and you know, I mean, you look at my exercises, you say, oh, she must have been this detail nutcase, you know. But no, I was a big picture person. As a matter of fact, they say I wear the dirtiest glasses, although my house is immaculately clean, and if I'm upset, I go with the Q-tip. I have a little OCD. But my glasses, I never really look through them. I look around my glasses. And the interesting thing of how I got into this and started writing these programs is when I had Feuerstein's program. When I was first introduced to Professor Feuerstein, I looked at the details. I thought creepy people looked at details. I'm a big picture person. I'm fun. I do things. I move. I take risks. You know, I was very different when I was younger than I am now. And I'm not that fun anymore. But it's, so I said, if I miss this, if I missed the details in my education, if I miss systems thinking, and I didn't have a difficult time in school. You know, in high school or in college or anything, I always did pretty well. If I missed these details, well, my mother always taught me, you're like everyone else. Well, if I missed them, everyone else must have missed them too. So I started writing the programs that were hardest for me. So I changed. But it wasn't my, I mean, that's very unusual to go into a career that's your opposite skill set. You know, I'm kind of like the traders. Don't ask me where to put your money. You know, I just don't care. I don't know, I don't care, you know. So, I'm a big picture person. But now I see the details in the big picture. And there's a real calm, there's a real strength. You know, there's a real power. You know, and it makes emotional intelligence, it's dramatically changed my emotional intelligence. Dramatically. Things that would have upset me years ago, it even surprises me. I go, why aren't I upset by that? Well, what's the matter? Someone took my work and did it. Oh, what's the difference? I have 18,000 exercises, and yes, I have them. If I'm going to make a big stink, Niesa will come out and say, good, do I want to waste my time? You know, I don't, I'm just grounded. I don't, and I think, I really do think the emotional intelligence has changed. And I think my students too, the impulsive students, are now looking for more pieces, alternate ways of looking at something. And so it is changing. What is termed? You know, that term really caught. That wasn't going to be the title of the book. It wasn't going to be the title. It was a publisher who came up with it. It was not going to be emotional intelligence.
You know what it's going to be?
I cannot remember exactly, and I'd hate to put on tape something that is not, only because they're, but I do think it was something with disposition for learning, or it was, I don't know if it was the disposition for learning or the relationship with the prefrontal cortex, because the prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain you're talking about in emotional intelligence. So it has a cognitive function.
Let's turn off the tape and get all the good stuff.
Right. Before you end, can you go over what we're supposed to be doing with the other two exercises? Or are we applying the same thing that we applied to the first exercise?
Well, no. The exercises that I have given you ask you to, let's see, where do I have
those little guys.
Let me show you. Here they are. Okay. There are 4 graphics at the top of the page, and each one of those images was created from one of those graphics. I want you to decide what elements or how you're going to decide which one comes from which graphic. Okay, now you see I have little points, so the triangles come in and the apex meets in the middle. You see that? Okay, everyone sees that? Okay, watch, because you know I have to get tougher. If you're not going to get harder. Now, oh no, there's the answers. Now these images, the same exercise, but those triangles do not have, they can be any place in the image. So you're not just identifying, you're identifying an interrelationship of salient characteristics, not just a salient characteristic. So we keep upping the ante. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for
You're welcome. Okay, and you can just leave the markers on the table or here, wherever you like.